gratification. Just as a coin is not recognized by the peoples if it does not carry on itself the image of their king, even more, it is despised and neglected, the same with your works. If they do not have the graft with my cross, they cannot have any value. See, now it is not about destroying the creatures, but yourself, making you die in order to live only in me and of my own life. It is true that it shall cost you more than what you have done, but pluck up courage, do not fear, it is not you who shall do it, but I myself shall operate in you. For example, if in the morning I woke up and did not get up immediately, the interior voice would tell me, "You rest," while I had no other bed but the cross. Hurry up, not so much satisfaction. But with time I understood that that way of acting is when he wants to dispose the soul to new and heavy crosses, and he knows how to draw her so close to himself with those stratagems, that the soul does not dare to oppose what he wants. Although I remember that I have always been resigned, yet, I did not know then the preciousness of the cross, as the Lord has made me know during the course of these 12 years, nor would the confessor have adapted himself to give me the obedience. Going back to the beginning, when Jesus would deign to come, he would speak to me very often about his passion, and would take care of disposing my soul to the imitation of his life and of his pains, telling me that, in addition to the marriage which is mentioned above, we had one more left to do, and this was the marriage of the cross. I remember that he would say, "My spouse, the virtues become weak if they are not strengthened and fortified by the grafting of the cross. Before my coming upon earth, pains, confusions, disgraces, calumnies, sufferings, poverty, illnesses, and especially the cross, were all considered as opprobrium, but from the moment they were borne by me, they were all sanctified and divinized by my contact. So, they all changed their appearance, becoming sweet, pleasant, and the soul who has the good of having some of them, receives honor, and this, because she has received the vestment of me, Son of God. Only those who look and stop at the cortex of the cross experience the opposite, finding it bitter, they are disgusted by it, they complain, as if someone had done wrong to them. But those who penetrate inside of it, finding it enjoyable, form their happiness in it. My beloved daughter, I yearn for nothing else but to crucify you, body and soul. I remember that, as I continued to ask for the crucifixion and Jesus would transport me outside of myself, he would take me to the holy two sites of Jerusalem where our Lord suffered his sorrowful passion, and there we encountered many crosses. My beloved Jesus would say to me, "If you knew what good the cross contains within itself, how precious it renders the soul, what a gem of inestimable value one acquires, who has the good of possessing sufferings. It is enough to tell you only that, in coming upon earth, I did not choose riches or pleasures, but I cherished as dear and intimate sisters, the cross, poverty, sufferings, ignominies." While saying this, he would show such taste, such joy for suffering, that those words pierced my heart through like many burning arrows, to the point that I would feel life leaving me if the Lord would not concede me suffering. September 14, 1899. One morning, it was the day of the exaltation of the cross, my sweet Jesus transported me to the holy sites, and first, he told me many things about the virtue of the cross. I don't remember everything, just a few things. My beloved, do you want to be beautiful? The cross will give you the most beautiful features that can possibly be found, both in heaven and on earth, so much so, as to enamor God, who contains all beauties within himself. Jesus continued, "Do you want to be filled with immense riches, not for a short time, but for all eternity? Well then, the cross will administer to you all kinds of riches, from the littlest pennies, which are the small crosses, up to the greatest amounts, which are the heavier crosses. Yet, men are so greedy to earn a temporal nickel, that they will soon have to leave, but do not give a thought to earning one eternal penny. And when I, having compassion for them, in seeing their carelessness for all that regards eternity, kindly offer them the opportunity, instead of cherishing it, they get angry and offend me. What human madness! It seems that they understand it upside down. My beloved, in the cross are all the triumphs, all the victories, and the greatest gains. As for you, you must have no other aim than the cross, and this will be enough for you, in everything. Ah! How many times I found myself in the midst of the Jews together with Queen Mama, seeing my beloved Jesus suffer. Ah! Yes, it is yet true that it is easier for one to suffer oneself, than to see the beloved suffer. Other times, I remember that, in renewing these crucifixions, my sweet Jesus said to me, "My beloved, the cross allows one to distinguish the reprobates from the predestined." Just as, on the day of judgment, the good will rejoice upon seeing the cross, so even now it can be seen whether one will be saved or lost. If, as the cross presents itself to the soul, she embraces it, carries it with resignation, with patience, and she kisses and thanks that hand which is sending it, here is the sign that she is saved. If, on the contrary, as the cross is presented to her, she gets irritated, despises it, and even reaches the point of offending me, you can say that that's a sign that the soul is heading on the way to hell. So will the reprobates do on the day of judgment. Upon seeing the cross, they will grieve and curse. The cross tells everything. The cross is a book that, without deception and in clear notes, tells you and allows you to distinguish the saint from the sinner, the perfect from the imperfect, the fervent from the lukewarm. The cross communicates such light to the soul that, even now, it allows one to distinguish not only the good from the evil, but also those who are to be more or less glorious in heaven, those who are to occupy a higher or a lower place. All other virtues remain humble and reverent before the virtue of the cross, and grafting themselves to it, they receive greater glory and splendor. Who can say what flames of ardent desires this speaking of Jesus would cast into my heart? I felt devoured by hunger for suffering, and in order to satisfy my yearnings, or rather, to better say it, in order to satisfy that which he himself infused in me, he would renew for me the crucifixion. I remember that sometimes, after renewing these crucifixions, he would say to me, "Beloved of my heart, I ardently desire not only to crucify your soul and to communicate the pains of the cross to your body, but also to mark your body with the mark of my wounds, and I want to teach you the prayer in order to obtain this grace. This is the prayer: I present myself before the supreme throne of God, bathed in the blood of Jesus Christ, praying him, by the merit of his most luminous virtues and of his divinity, to concede me the grace to be crucified." Volume 2, May 16, 1899. He told me, "The cross disposes the soul to patience. The cross opens heaven, and unites heaven and earth together, that is, God and the soul. The virtue of the cross is powerful, and when it enters into a soul, it has the virtue of removing the rust of all earthly things. Not only this, but it causes her boredom, bother and contempt for the things of the earth, giving her, instead, the flavor, the enjoyment, of celestial things. However, few are those who recognize the virtue of the cross, therefore they despise it." Volume 2, March 14, 1899. The following morning, I kept seeing Jesus withdrawn in my heart, and I saw that people would come even inside my heart, and walk all over him and trample him underfoot. I did as much as I could in order to free him, and Jesus, turning to me, told me, "Do you see where the ingratitude of men reaches? They themselves force me to chastise them, as I cannot do otherwise. And you, my dear one, after you have foreseen me suffer so much, may you hold crosses more dearly, and pains as delights." Volume 2 March 31, 1899. This morning, my adorable Jesus made himself seem crucified, and after he communicated his pains to me, he told me, "Many are the wounds that made me suffer during my passion, but one was the cross." This means that many are the roads by which I draw souls to perfection, but one is the heaven in which these souls must unite. So, if one misses that heaven, there is no other that can render them blessed forever. Then he added, "Take a look, one is the cross, but this cross was formed with various pieces of wood. This means that one is heaven, but this heaven contains various places, more or less glorious, and these places will be distributed according to the sufferings suffered down here, more or less heavy. Oh, if all knew the preciousness of suffering, they would compete with one another to suffer more. But this science is not recognized by the world, and so they abhor everything that can render them richer for eternity." Volume 2 May 16, 1899. Jesus continued for a few more days to manifest himself in the same way, not wanting to detach from me. It seemed that that little bit of sufferings he had poured into me attracted him so much, that he could not be without me. This morning he poured a little bit more of bitterness from his mouth into mine, and then he told me, "The cross disposes the soul to patience. The cross opens heaven, and unites heaven and earth together, that is, God and the soul. The virtue of the cross is powerful, and when it enters into a soul, it has the virtue of removing the rust of all earthly things. Not only this, but it causes her boredom, bother and contempt for the things of the earth, giving her, instead, the flavor, the enjoyment, of celestial things. However, few are those who recognize the virtue of the cross, therefore they despise it. Who can say how many things I comprehended about the cross while Jesus was speaking? The speaking of Jesus is not like ours, in which one understands only as much as is said. But rather, one single word leaves an immense light, such that, in ruminating well on it, one could remain occupied the whole day in most profound meditation. Therefore, if I wanted to tell everything I would be too long, and I would also lack the time to do it. Volume 2 July 22, 1899. This morning my adorable Jesus made himself seen with a golden cross, all resplendent, hanging from his neck, and in looking at it, he was immensely pleased. In one instant the confessor was there 5 present, and Jesus said to him, "The sufferings of these past days have increased the splendor of the cross, so much so, that in looking at it, I take great delight." Then he turned to me and told me, "The cross communicates such splendor to the soul as to render her transparent, and just as, when an object is transparent, one can give it all the colors he wants, in the same way, with its light. The cross gives all features and the most beautiful shapes that can possibly be imagined, not only by others but by the very soul who experiences them. Furthermore, on a transparent object one immediately detects the dust, the little stains, and even a shadow. Such is the cross, since it renders the soul transparent, it immediately reveals to the soul the little defects, the slightest imperfections, so much so, that there is no masterly hand more capable than the cross in keeping the soul prepared, to render her a worthy dwelling of the God of heaven. Who can say what I comprehended about the cross, and how enviable is the soul who possesses it?" Volume 2 July 28, 1899. This morning, my adorable Jesus came with an appearance all admirable and mysterious. He was wearing a chain around his neck, hanging over his whole breast. At one end of the chain, one could see something like a bow, at the other end, something like a quiver full of precious stones and gems, that formed an ornament of the most beautiful sort on the breast of my sweet Jesus. He also had a lance in his hand. While in this appearance, he told me, "The human life is a game, some play pleasure, some play money, some, their own lives, and many other games that they play. I too delight in playing with souls, but what are these jokes that I make? They are the crosses that I send. If they receive them with resignation and they thank me for them, I amuse myself and I play with them, delighting immensely, receiving great honor and glory, and letting them make the greatest gains. As he was saying this, he began to touch me with the lance. From the bow and the quiver came out all those precious stones that were contained in it, and they turned into many crosses and arrows that wounded the creatures. Some of them, but extremely few, rejoiced, kissed them, and thanked him, engaging in a game with Jesus. Others then would take them and throw them in his face. Oh, how afflicted was Jesus left, and what a great loss for those souls. Then Jesus added, "This is the thirst that I cried out on the cross, such that, unable to quench it entirely at that time, I delight in continuing to quench it in the souls of my dear ones who suffer. So, when you suffer, you come to give a refreshment to my thirst." As he came other times, and I prayed him to free the confessor, who was suffering, he told me, "My daughter, don't you know that the noblest mark one can impress in my dear children is the cross?" 6 volume. 2 October 22, 1899. Jesus continues to make himself seen afflicted. The moment he came, he threw himself into my arms, his strengths completely exhausted, almost wanting refreshment. He shared with me a little bit of his sufferings, and then he told me, "My daughter, the way of the cross is a way strewn with stars, and as one walks through it, those stars change into most luminous suns. What will be the happiness of the soul for all eternity in being surrounded with these suns? Furthermore, the great reward I give to the cross is such that there is no measure, either of width or of length. It is almost incomprehensible to the human minds, and this, because in bearing crosses, there can be nothing human, all is divine." Volume 3 December 2, 1899. After this, I remained in silence, and he added, "Today I am pleased to spend time with you. Tell me something." And I, "You know that all my contentment is in being with you, and in having you, I have everything. So, in possessing you, it seems to me that I have nothing else to desire, or to say. And Jesus, let me hear your voice that cheers my hearing. Let us converse together a little. I have spoken to you many times about the cross. Today, let me hear you speak of the cross." I felt all confused, I did not know what to say. But as he sent me a ray of intellectual light, to make him content, I began to say, "My beloved, who can say to you what the cross is? Your mouth alone can speak worthily of the sublimeness of the cross, but since you want me to speak, I will do it. The cross, suffered by you, freed me from the slavery of the devil, and espoused me to the divinity with an indissoluble bond. The cross is fecund, and it gives birth to grace in me. The cross is light, it disillusions me of what is temporal, and reveals to me what is eternal. The cross is fire, and it reduces to ashes all that is not of God, to the point of emptying my heart of the tiniest blade of grass that might be in it. The cross is coin of inestimable value, and if I have, O holy spouse, the fortune of possessing it, I will be enriched with eternal coins, to the extent of becoming the richest in paradise, because the currency that circulates in heaven is the cross suffered on earth. The cross makes me know myself more. Not only this, but it gives me the knowledge of God. The cross grafts all virtues in me. The cross is the noble pulpit of the uncreated wisdom, that teaches me the highest, the finest and most sublime doctrines. So, only the cross will reveal to me the most hidden mysteries, the most secret things, the most perfect perfection, hidden to the most erudite and learned of the world. The cross is like beneficent water that purifies me. Not only this, but it administers the nourishment to the virtues in me, it makes them grow for me, and only then does it leave me, when it 7 brings me back to eternal life. The cross is like celestial dew, which preserves and embellishes for me the beautiful lily of purity. The cross is the nourishment of hope. The cross is the beacon of the operating faith. The cross is like solid wood that preserves the fire of charity, and keeps it always ignited. The cross is like dry wood that dispels and puts to flight all the fumes of pride and of vainglory, and produces in the soul the humble violet of humility. The cross is the most powerful weapon that offends the demons, and defends me from all their claws. So, the soul who possesses the cross is the envy and admiration of the very angels and saints, and the rage and indignation of the demons. The cross is my paradise on earth, in such a way that if the paradise of the blessed up there is of delights, the paradise down here is of sufferings. The cross is the chain of most pure gold that connects me with you, my highest good, and forms the most intimate union that can possibly be given, to the point of making my being disappear. And it transmutes me into you, my beloved, to the point that I feel lost within you, and I live of your very life. After I said this, my lovable Jesus was all delighted in listening to me, and taken by enthusiasm of love, he kissed me all over, and said to me, "Brava, brava, my beloved, you spoke well. My love is fire, but not like the terrestrial fire that, wherever it penetrates, renders things sterile and reduces everything to ashes. My fire is fecund, and it renders sterile only that which is not virtue, but to everything else it gives life, it makes beautiful flowers bloom in it, makes the most delicious fruits mature, and renders it the most delightful celestial garden. The cross is so powerful, and I communicated to it so much grace, as to render it more effective than the very sacraments, and this, because in receiving the sacrament of my body, the dispositions and free concourse of the soul are needed in order to receive my graces. And many times these may be lacking, while the cross has the virtue of disposing the soul to grace. Volume 3 April 20, 1900. My adorable Jesus continues to come, for just a little and like a shadow, and even when he comes he does not say